With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Alright, so from Des Moines, you're going to drive about 40 minutes east, try not to get lulled into a deep sleep by the vast expanse of corn on either side of the highway, take the exit to the Casey's in the middle of nowhere, try not to get lulled into a deep sleep by the Cheesy Tots, and then across the street from the municipal airport, you'll find an unexpected surprise, one of the great short ovals for IndyCar racing, right in the middle of essentially nowhere. RaceSpotTV welcomes you to round 7 of the PRL INDYCAR Fixed Series. 2 rounds to go after this to the championship here from Iowa Speedway. My name is Joey Tebben. Ewan O'Leary is alongside me in the booth tonight, and our producer once again will be Ramiro Augustine Cisneros. Iowa action tonight, Ewan. 7/8 of a mile. It's a spectacular short oval, and there's 2 ovals to go. 2 ovals in the last 3 races of the season.
Yeah, very different ovals as well, I think is worth noting here in the final 4 rounds of this season. We've got a nice run to the flag here after the Super Bowl on February 9th, starting with Circuit Americas last week, Iowa this week, Sebring next week, and then Pocono to end the season. Very, very different, these 2 ovals, though. It's Iowa pretty short. In all honesty, I've not seen too much IndyCar racing here recently, I've got to say, but I thoroughly enjoyed some NASCAR racing I saw here pretty recently, so hoping that tonight's race will be in a similar vein to that.
And we must remember this is an older scan of Iowa on iRacing. This is pre the repave, which caused some negative effects to the IndyCar racing at Iowa in 2024. Those negative effects will not be felt because it is still the old scan. This is going to be the same old fantastic Iowa we're used to. It's going to be another fantastic battle in the championship as well, because Dave Menino was able to close that gap down just a little bit in the Drivers' Championship last week, becoming the first driver to win 2 races this season. He's only 10 points behind Jake Vasconcellos. Daniel Kranifus is only 19 points back, and Jordan Kernow had a little bit of a weaker week last week, but still 27 points. He's been strong on the ovals this year. Championship still wide open with 3 races to go. The Teams Championship is similarly wide open. SRT had a great week last week. They've brought the championship in the teams down to about 36 points. Team Hype, though, still holding a little bit of a margin. James O'Brien is here tonight. Brandon Walter is also here tonight, so Team Hype may still have a shot of keeping things alive in the Teams Championship, but they've got some very hungry SRT drivers behind them. Qualifying is coming to an end here, but before we take you to that, we've got to thank everybody who makes all of this possible here in the PRL IndyCar Fixed Series. Logitech G wheels and pedals are equipped with true force feedback to help you feel the road and own the race. Use code PRECISION5 at checkout on logitechg.com for 5% off your purchase. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision5 coupon code. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, their button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and also get a 5% discount, also using that Precision5 coupon code. The Butt Kicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat with The Butt Kicker. Moradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit moradness.com. Mr. Hedge iRacing photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or simply worst moments from your hobby in up to 8K resolution. A great addition to any sim room. And finally, get ready to learn to be fast with Advanced Motorsports. Follow them on their socials to become a better driver. And with that, checkered flag has actually flown on the qualifying session, and it's a driver who's been up front this season, has not been able to break the win duck though. Steve Baker will start from pole here in Iowa. Great run from him. See if he can pull off his first win of the season. Daniel Kranifus, third in the championship. He out-qualifies all of his championship rivals and was only 1 thousandth off pole. Championship leader Jake Vasconcelos will be comfortable in third. He won the last short oval at Gateway. Joshua Chinsky starts alongside him, and Kyle Strykars, great run from him to start P5 alongside Jordan Kernow. Nathan Ray, Steve Baker's teammate, is P7 alongside Brett Punkari. Karsten Quint, great run from him as well to end up in the top 10. He'll start alongside last week's winner Dave Menino, going to be looking forward from 10th place. Adam McDonald starts 11th, and Lucas Santos in sort of his home race. He's from Minnesota, but Iowa's as close as you can get. He'll start 12th. Brandon Walter, the first of the team hype drivers, in unlucky 13th alongside Guillaume Potvin. It's good to see Patrick Cowgill back. He'll start P15 alongside Atomic Racing's own Richard Swindells. Nicholas Collender, P17, and James O'Brien, great oval driver. Look for him to move his way forward from 18th. Ken Miller and Mark Kalin, the two last drivers to set qualifying lap times, and Willie Brennan will start 21st. No qualifying lap time from him, but he has taken to the grid. So 21 cars around this 7/8 of a mile track, Ewan, and the lights are not really starting to go down. It is 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but it looks like a pretty cool day.
It does look quite dark for 3 o'clock in the afternoon, doesn't it really? But anyway, we shouldn't be seeing too much darkness before the end of this race. Fairly nice temperatures for the tyres, which should be a good thing as well. Just depends really. The next question, I suppose, how often are you going to change them over the course of the day? Are you going to be sticking to mostly caution pit stops? I have a feeling this race may feel a little bit similar really to Gateway at the start of this month 3 weeks ago, when we saw fair amount of cautions, not many green flag stops at all, but a good race in the end on a pretty short track. I have a feeling this race might feel a little bit similar to that one, but we'll see. Steve Baker will lead them around. That's his first ever pole in the PRL, which is nice considering he's won 8 times. Kind of surprised really, but first ever pole for him this evening.
Been able to do it from one way. Will he be able to do it starting from pole? He's got Daniel Kranifus to his outside, another driver who's been fairly strong on the ovals this season, has not won a race yet. Despite being third in the championship, he is the only championship contender that has not ended up in victory lane just yet. But this track is 7/8 of a mile, so we'll go around for 2 pace laps, getting everybody a little bit of extra time to get a little bit of extra heat in those black tires. This is, as with most ovals in IndyCar racing, a one compound race. There will be no compound switching, but it's an old track in this scan, and it's high speeds for the entirety of it. This track is almost a circle, so those tires are going to be struggling all night long.
Yeah, it is going to be a high-speed race, that's for sure. Not too much tyre warming going on for most, other than for Nathan Ray, who's sweeping around, qualified in 7th place, and number 35, we'll see where he gets to. Dave Menino, by the way, qualified in 10th place. You will have seen in the grid. It's exactly what we're talking about when we talked last week about him needing to improve his oval results. Nothing wrong with his road course form, but he just needs to get some good results on the ovals if he wants to challenge Jake Vasconcelos. We'll see if he can do that tonight.
Steve Baker, as Ewan said, has won 8 times previously in the PRL. Most of those were in AM class categories in GT3. He's got a Super Formula win though, and now he's going to go for his first oval win. Oh! There's already a wreck on the front stretch. Daniel Kranifus gets turned around by one of the SRT drivers. Instant caution. Another one of his Rust Racing teammates is around, but as the green flag came out, Daniel Kranifus and Joshua Chinsky came together, and the caution flies immediately.
That has to be the quickest caution ever seen. It certainly is this season. It might be ever. And now there's going to be a bit of a palaver as the drivers have maybe got to wait for the pace car, or they're going to have to catch it up. It was still travelling down pit lane, of course, when it was thrown, and so all sorts of weird things are going to happen now. Just keep your eyes on this caution here, and let's hope that it all comes out well in the few laps. Let's have a look at how it happened, though. I'm afraid that is entirely over ambition there from Joshua Chinsky to drive straight into the back of Daniel Cranefus like that before we've even started is pretty inexcusable.
Everybody is still rolling, which is good, but Daniel Cranefus, lots of damage you saw there. Chinsky, lots of damage. I think James O'Brien was involved. Mark Kalin may have been involved. And Nicholas Collender was the other Rust Racing driver. He's down pit road now for some fairly heavy repairs, but this is also exactly what Ewan was talking about. Got to wait for the pace car to come around, as not the entirety of the field had actually gotten to the start-finish line before the caution flew, so it's going to be a little bit of an organization festival for the next couple of minutes.
So
and Guillaume Potvin just ran into Lucas Santos.
Oh, goodness me. This is
I think they got away with that one, but that was dicey.
Oh, no, well, he hasn't. That's a front end and a rear end hanging off there together. Yeah, they've really got to do something about what happens to this pace car when the caution's thrown so quickly. They've really got to do something about that, because that's a couple of races just in the last few months I've seen come under real sort of a real mess under the caution. But anyway, it seems to be sorted out now. This is on board with Joshua Chinsky. I'll get back to what I was going to say in a moment. Let's have a look at this on board. Well, I'm sorry, but no matter how much you think you can try and anticipate the start, get off to a good start, jump the start, whatever, you've got to at least not drive into the car in front of you. That was pretty bad driving.
Dave Menino, understandably, down pit lane. Daniel Cranefus, understandably, down pit lane as well. And Willie Brennan joining the rest of that crew. I think there were a few other drivers who, kind of at the back of that whole pile of calamity, ended up with slight extra bits of damage, but that's an early way to stratify out the field a little bit. We won't get a double file restart now. We'll get a single file restart to officially go racing here in probably a couple of laps time.
Yeah, so effectively no double file starts to this race at all. I'm barely counting that one, to be honest. Not many people will have been able to gain places other than what you would have lost in crashes. So yeah, that was a pretty short start to this race, and it is going to be single file restarts from here and in. It might help out, to be honest. I thought at the start of the race at Gateway actually that the single file restarts might lead to some very long but very single file runs, but actually that wasn't the case. So I'm remaining hopeful that at this circuit it is going to be the same. We're going to see similar good racing, even though it will be single file restarts, as you say. Now all sorts of weird stuff is going on again now with the gaps and stuff. I don't quite know what, but anyway, the pace car's running around at the front of the field, and I think still has just about control over everybody.
Another look at the start. I mean, it still looks like Cranefus got going. It's not like he was really bogged down. Like, he was going at a reasonable rate of speed, and unfortunately it was just misjudged. And then there's Dave Menino on the scene. Actually, much heavier damage for him than we thought. He took a face full of Daniel Cranefus there. Second place in the championship, already on the back foot.
Absolutely, I didn't quite spot that at the time either. He really did. He really did get. Now what's going on here again?
I think this is because half the field was stuck a lap down, essentially, because the caution came out before they crossed the line, so everybody was getting the wave around there to get back on the lead lap, I believe. But now we're going double file.
Seems to make sense. They're sort of going double file at the front. Yeah, this is how it happened again. Trying to work out from this camera angle whether the Chinsky actually did jump the start or whether he just reacted very quickly. As I said before, even if you do react, the best as possible, you've got to at least drive around the car in front of you. And in any way, you're not really supposed to be overlapping before the line anyway. So yeah, it's a really bad start to this race. Hopefully this restart is a bit better.
And unfortunately for Daniel Cranefus, he's not actually going to be able to drop this week. A 21st place finish is actually better than his actual worst finish of the season, which was 26th at Spa. So unless there is absolute calamity for Vasconcelos and more calamity for Menino, that may be Daniel Cranefus' championship hopes over. But there's still 55 minutes of racing left to go. Steve Baker's hopes are still very much alive. The green flag flies yet again at Iowa, and it's much cleaner this time. 20 cars, one by one, times 20, filing into turn 1.
Yeah, effectively racing for the first time here after seeing the first 5 minutes knocked off the top of this race. Steve Baker going to lead pretty comfortably there. Headed back on Sellers, who wasn't really on it from the very beginning. Then it's Strajcic, who's under pressure from Jordan Kernow, completing the end of the first racing lap of this one. The fastest lap is going to change hands quite a lot. There you go, down the field. Look at that in the midfield. Couple of drivers just looking underneath the one in front as they go around this effective circle, as you were calling it earlier.
Yeah, even on the back straight, it's straight for a moment, but you're turning until about halfway through it, and then you have to start turning about halfway down it. So there's essentially no straight period on this track. It's exhausting. It's exhausting for both tire and driver, and Jordan Kernow is trying to make a move early, sending it to the bottom in 3 and 4, seeing if he can get by Kyle Strykar's early.
Seems that looking towards the inside is the way to sort of get alongside, but what are you going to do on the exit of the corner? The high side seems to be just going a little bit better down these short straights at the moment. There goes Kernow again, looking for that yellow line. Don't clip it with the apron. It's pretty steep banking around here for a short track, and that was close again, but he can't stay alongside. Unlike Lucas Santos on Carson Quint. Here goes Kernow again. Can he stay alongside? That's the key. It looks like he finally might have done.
Santos and Quint. Santos is trying to run high, but he's not running high enough. He's actually giving Karsten Quint a lane, essentially. He's got a huge run, but there's a spin at the back. That's Brandon Walter in trouble off of turn 4. Patrick Cowgill involved. That's Mark Kalin turned around. James O'Brien barely makes his way through, but huge calamity for 3 oval specialists in the field, all involved in one wreck.
Yeah, 3 cars involved. And you've got, oh dear, that car's not going anywhere. I'm afraid, Patrick Cowgill. That car is going to have to tow back to pit lane. That is a real shame for him. Mark Kalin at the back of the field as well. It's just what happens when it's a side-by-side racing. It's so difficult to avoid. There it is. That's a slide up in front there. Is that Walter who started to slide and then got collected? The others in behind couldn't really do a lot. And actually, it wasn't particularly the side-by-side racing. It was just a loose condition off of turn 4.
And everybody behind them did a fantastic job of not actually being involved. There was no contact to James O'Brien. That was just a little bit of an illusion. And then Willie Brennan got on the brakes very effectively to avoid that. I think one of the Rust Racing drivers got through, but the pit cycle is open far earlier than any of us would have expected. Kyle Strykar's is already coming down for a fresh new set of tires after, what, about 3 minutes of racing?
It's pretty surprising, really, for a driver in 3rd place, considering the track position importance that we've just seen. But anyway, he's making his way in, and, well, he's already at the end of the pit lane, I believe, or somebody is, and they will have to wait and go the lap down. But Strajcic's going to drop to 14th in all of this.
Brennan is electing to bring it down pit road. He probably wants to change those tires. He did very well avoid that crash, but he did have to lock up all 4 tires to do so, so probably wants to get slightly more circular pieces of rubber on that car. But while we do sit here under yellow, we do have one driver straight out of the race from that crash. Patrick Cowgill, you were right behind Brandon Walter out of turn 4. What happened from inside your car?
I had a run coming off the corner, and it looked like he got loose or something, and I slammed on the brakes to try to miss him, and kind of sort of spun myself around.
So what's the damage looking like? You think you can get back out there, or is it going to be lengthy repair?
I'll tell you in like 2 seconds. 5 minutes and 20 seconds.
All right. Is that your aim? Are you going to get back out there, or are you going to sit in the bus?
I might call it quits. I don't like being a damaged vehicle out there on the track in people's way.
Understandable. One more oval to go. Pocono, the season finale, and Sebring next week, too. We know you got a lot of laps around there. Are you looking forward to the end of the season, at least?
Yeah, I think those 2 races will be fun.
All right. Looking forward to see you again. Unfortunate it ended so quick, but we'll see you next week.
Yep, see you guys.
Old Patrick Cowgill out far too early, but still... Let's see, how many cars do we still have on the lead lap here? We've still got 18 cars on the lead lap, so not actually that much in terms of attrition so far.
No, Only Daniel Cranifus, who is out of this race after the, well, barely the opening lap, and Patrick Cowgill as well, who decides maybe not to driving around out there as a damaged car. So 18 on the lead lap. Only Brandon Walton not on the lead lap. I think he was trying to do the whole repairing and staying on the lead lap thing, but he got it slightly wrong, and so has dropped a lap down. But since he's the only one lap down, he might find it all right getting back onto the lead lap again. We will see, but it's still a decent level of attrition for this stage in the race. Let's hope it remains the same as we get underway for a second safety car restart coming up right now.
Indeed, the lights are out on the iRacing sedan pace car, so Steve Baker will be in a familiar position of leading a start or a restart. He's led every single lap so far tonight, but right before that caution came out, Jake Vasconcelos was chasing him down. So if we get a slightly longer run, definitely got a battle brewing up front. Steve Baker retakes control of the field. Should be a good launch from him, but can Vasconcelos keep him company? He absolutely cannot. Vasconcelos loses about 10 car lengths into turn 1, and now he's got Jordan Kernow on the attack for second.
Well, this did happen last time, but Vasconcelos got straight back to Baker before the caution came out. He's got to retain second, though, if he wants to do that again. Running right round the top here, just below the wall. And Kernow trying to take that position off him. He's got a long way alongside. This is the best effort we've seen from someone down low, up front for quite some time.
Kernow pulls the slide job, clears Jake Vasconcelos and takes second, and both of them, even with their battling, have done a fantastic job of catching Steve Baker. Kernow's eliminated about 10 car lengths in the space of a lap.
Yes, Baker's getting off to pretty mediocre starts, really. Early on in the run, the launch itself is pretty good, but actually, once it gets into normal driving, if you like, he starts to struggle very quickly. Jordan Kernow crawling all over the back of him now at the end of another lap. They are pulling away from the rest, but look at this for the lead.
Sending it to the bottom. Going to be scraping those tires a little bit more, ripping that tighter line, but Kernow wants the lead, and he is throwing everything at Steve Baker. Nothing going to happen on this lap, though.
Not this time. And this is much more like what you expect to see from someone looking down low, not the success that he had against Jake Vasconcelos there for Jordan Kernow. That's the abnormal part. This is more like what we've seen so far in this race. Just looking down low, not particularly getting anywhere. Baker's held off that first charge, and he's holding on to the lead here now.
Still shadowing him, still trying to force him into a mistake, but the bottom just doesn't seem to be the place you want to be. Into 3 and 4. Again, Baker wins out, but this is the closest Kernow's been. He got it below a 10th and a half there. Still don't think that's going to be close enough, and Baker totally clear this time. He'll hang on. A little bit further back, though, you can see McDonald and Potvin were side by side. Adam McDonald actually swept around the outside of Potvin. The outside clearly seems like the place to be. James O'Brien is trying to look up high as well.
Yeah, O'Brien's been making some moves here early on. There he goes, down below. Oh, quite deep into the corner, and there was contact there. Guillaume Potvin had to just really lift out of it there, and he lost his top 10 position. Aggression from James O'Brien, who now gets to 10th. Meanwhile, Jordan Kernow goes for the lead again.
O'Brien had been going for the top, but elected to use the bottom just once, and it turned into a little bit of a hip check. But up front, you're exactly right. They are side by side. Is this finally going to be the time where Jordan Kernow is able to lead the first lap of anybody not named Steve Baker? Here we go. Kernow again to the bottom into turn 1. He gets a nose ahead. He's side by side, but still the bottom just not working like he wants it to work. He just can't get clear of Baker. He can't even get a nose ahead.
Now that's better from him. He has his nose ahead briefly there, not at the line. Baker still leads, but that is more success. He's getting further alongside. Oh, just got a little bit tight there through the middle, and he'll go backwards. Just got a little bit tight. He lifted off so not to slam straight into the side of the 2 car, and so he has to back off. This is how it happened between O'Brien and Potvin. I think Potvin was hoping O'Brien would go a little bit lower, and in the end that didn't happen. Potvin drops to 11th.
And he did a good job of not hitting the wall. All those marbles are still out there. But just 1 position lost for Potvin. He'll stay out there, and he'll keep going. Try and hunt James O'Brien back down. Another shot for Kernow. Running a little bit higher than he was before. About a lane higher than he normally was. Still not doing him any good, though, with Baker on the top. I wonder if he wants to try something slightly different. Could he maybe try and run a lane higher than Baker? There's a fourth lane up there, but I don't know if he wants to go that high.
I don't know if I want to go that high either. It's uncharted territory as far as this race is concerned. So far, we've not seen anybody up there. I think the best shot is to try and go down low, and he's shown that it can work. You've got to get the line absolutely perfect. It's got to start through 3 and 4. Then you're alongside on the way into turn 1 and 2, and then you can start to make it work. See if you're on the inside out of 2 there, you're not really going to get it very far. See, the overlap is not there by the third turn. Now it is there. Oh, and there's contact between the two.
I think they got away with it, but they would not have gotten away with any closer than that. Baker narrowly keeps it out of the wall, and Kurnow now has a nose ahead. He's not leading into turn 3, though. Can he lead at the line? Is this finally the time he's going to be able to do it? Leaves Baker a little bit more room that time, maybe a little bit shy after the near contact they had in the previous lap. That was the closest he's gotten, but has he scared himself?
And that's too wide from Baker there. He opened the door for Kurnow. He was lucky that was at 1 and 2 and not 3 and 4 there. Otherwise, he would have been in trouble. Baker was just a lane further up there, and I don't think it really worked. It's not rubbered in at all yet, and so he can't be quite that high. Again, he's quite high again there, but he's getting away with it that time round. He was just a tad lower than he was before by maybe a tired width or so. Here goes Kurnow. This is where the jump is. Now he's got to stay alongside. Oh, careful with that. He's came up very harshly there, very nearly straight into the side of him.
There's inches in it. This is enthralling stuff, but it's got to be frustrating for Kurnow. Everything he tries has been ineffective, and he's probably thinking right now, is there anything different I can do, or am I just going to have to keep doing this, hope Steve finally makes a big mistake? What are you thinking if you're Jordan Kurnow right now? You've been stuck behind the same guy for about 10 minutes.
I'd be thinking a little bit that this could be a pass for the win. I know this is a long way from home, but if you get a fast car out front here, I don't really see a way in which someone gets around them. You're seeing Kurnow at the moment, a faster driver than Steve Baker, I think, at this circuit based on what we're seeing so far. And right now, he's really struggling to even get alongside, never mind actually fully get through. So once Kurnow gets to the lead, or indeed anyone who we deem to be the fastest driver in the field, I think it's going to be very, very, very difficult to overtake them. So this is the importance these two have got to place on this battle, and that's why Baker has got to fight this really hard.
Very close again, riding on board with Kurnow. That just shows you how difficult it is to really balance this when you're inside the car. You really need to know the size of your car. You need to know where your front wing is, because you're playing with inches at 200 miles per hour, where the slightest bit of contact is essentially going to be the end of your race.
Yeah, it would be a big accident round here. The speeds are high and the walls are going to collect you very quickly. There's a small snap from Kurnow, who just loses a tenth or so in this battle once again. He's still just looking down on the low side, still not really getting anywhere. Dave Menino, by the way, is up to 13th place on this restart. For those following, Granifus is out the race, and Vacancella is running pretty comfortably in third.
At the bottom of your screen, Nathan Ray has been having a phenomenal run. He just passed by Brett Punkari. He's up into P4, and he's running not faster than the leaders. He was in traffic on that last lap, but I'd bet if Ray's been saving it all, if Vasconcelos has been saving it all, neither of these leaders have been saving a thing. They have been going 100%, throwing everything at each other. Those tires are bound to fall off soon, and if anybody behind them has been able to save anything, this might become a 3 or 4 car battle for the win.
Yeah, it's looking at the moment like the front two are the only ones really who are able to keep pace at the front, but we'll see. I mean, there's still a very long way to go in this race indeed, and this is by far the longest green flag run we've had so far today, which is a good thing. As Punkari and Ray continue to battle on the bottom of your screen in a similar way really to Kurnow and Baker. Kurnow banging his head against a brick wall at the moment for this lead.
It is possible to make moves. You can see deeper in the order, Dave Menino just got beat by Guillaume Potvin, Karsten Quint got by Joshua Chinsky. But the thing that most of those moves had in common was they were made around the outside. You need to find a way to get higher than the car in front of you. And if they're already running that high line, it's going to become exceptionally difficult to actually make that move. And I wonder if Kernau's thinking strategy already. If things continue to go as they are, don't want to jinx it, but green flag pit stops will be a conversation in probably about 10 minutes time. And Jordan might have to think, is there any other way I can make this move that isn't on track?
Oh, yeah, might be forced to think about that really, but 10 minutes is a long time to wait round here. You know, you'd end up knocking off, what, 35 laps or so in that time. It's a long time to wait, so he's going to keep trying in the meantime, but in these last few moments he's really not been getting any closer. In fact, he's been getting further away. Now the traffic comes into it, and maybe now there's going to be a chance, but this is so difficult, almost impossible for Kernau. Maybe now this has got to be the chance, because there are lap cars in front and they're fighting.
This is the first new ingredient in this battle for quite a while. It's just been Baker versus Kernau for the last 40 laps essentially. And now they've got, no offense to the drivers in front, 2 chicanes to deal with. They're faster than these 2 damaged cars. Will this lead Baker into a mistake? Can Kernau split the difference? Remember, lap traffic at Worldwide Technology Raceway a couple of weeks ago essentially decided the race. We had a similar battle through traffic at the end of that. And here comes Mark Kalin. Here comes Brandon Walter. Is this going to force Steve Baker onto the bottom? Not this time. He's able to keep the top and sweep around the outside of Mark Kalin.
Well, is he going to get the room? That's the key, and there he does. So Kalin will back out of things here and will go a lap down for the first time. It's actually, I think that's Willie Brennan up just ahead of them, isn't it? Yeah, so he's going to be passed now, and Kernau trying to go past both of them at once. He can't quite do it.
Kernau does find the top, though. Is this where he's able to do it? Can he squeeze through the middle? Can he find a higher lane than Baker? He can't. Baker's able to clear Brennan halfway through the corner, and Kernau's still stuck on the bottom.
And he's going to be looking maybe for the outside through those kind of ways, as you were saying. But if they're raced into the corner like Willie Brennan just did, then he's going to find it very difficult. And you'd imagine most of these cars will race them into the corners. These are the lap cars, of course. Oh, sorry, these are the leaders, I should say. These cars are going a lap down for the first time because of these passes here, and they want to race them into the corners because they certainly won't want to go a lap down.
Oh, Kernau and Baker make contact. Kernau hits the rear end of Baker, wrecks across the line. They came so close so many times. And in a shocking turn of events, it's finally gone wrong. Kernau finally got too close.
And he might not even be able to get that back to pit lane, Jordan Kernau. Yep, he's going to have to tow. That's the end of his day. That's the end of his charge for the race win here tonight. After contact with Steve Baker, he was trying everything and maybe a bit overly exuberant in trying to make that move considering the amount of time remaining, but I was mentioning how it could be a battle for the win at the end of the day. Track position is going to be so important. Kernau needed that pass. He wasn't quite able to execute it, and with 36 minutes to go, we're going to be under caution again, likely a caution in which a lot of these drivers are going to stop.
Oh, Baker hit the wall too. That's what led to the crash. That's what slowed him down. Baker hit the wall, and Kernau, not expecting him to slow down that much, ends up in his rear.
Just climbs over the back of him and straight over. Yeah, Kernau didn't really have anywhere to go there.
And does Baker have damage from that too now?
I guess he must have a little bit of damage. It's not that bad, I don't think, for Baker. He's just leading them on pit lane, and I imagine everybody will be coming in, though.
Steve Baker led every single lap up into this. Let's see it again. That was a solid clunk of the wall from Baker, plus Kernau hitting him up the back. Your race leader may have a couple of seconds of repairs if he elects to get them fixed now. Is he going to be driving a damaged car for the rest of the day? Either way, it will be a race off pit lane. Baker does win it, so no damage repair for him. Vasconcelos will come out in second. Lucas Santos, who's had a very strong run through the field, he's up to third. Steve Baker's in a much more precarious position now than he was about 2 minutes ago.
Well, let's see, because Baker and Kernau were quicker than everybody else in the field. There's the contact, and Kernau, as you mentioned, couldn't go anywhere. It wasn't insignificant contact with the wall, but I think Baker's going to get away with that, to be honest with you. And he will continue to lead. And I think he will continue to pull away from the rest. I don't think Vasconcelos has the speed of Baker. The only man who could match Steve Baker, I thought, was Jordan Kernau. And now he's crashed and down on pit lane for a sizable amount of time. So I'm not sure this is going to be quite as much pressure for Baker on this restart, although he hasn't actually got underway in the first couple of laps on these restarts that well. Other than the launch, he's been a bit sluggish initially.
Got two aggressive drivers behind Jake Vasconcelos, though. Lucas Santos, as I mentioned, his sort of home race, very close to Minnesota, and Brett Punkari, who came close to winning his first race at Kansas earlier in the season. He'd love to get his first win in a PRL IndyCar. Who knows? Hunger sometimes leads to aggression, as it did for Jordan Kurnow. It may lead to speed for Santos and Punkari. Nathan Ray, he'll be looking for a win as well. James O'Brien, up to P6. He started at the tail end of the field. He's up about a dozen spots, and he's probably pretty happy being in 6th right now.
Yeah, having a typically good day. If the previous ovals are anything to go by, I wouldn't suspect he practiced very much. He's sort of learning on the job, to be honest, James O'Brien. He's quite good at it, though. Nearly won at Gateway, but his lack of experience did tell at the very end, as he needed that little bit of experience in making moves for the lead in the past that would have given him a real chance at winning that day. He wasn't able to execute, though, because of that lack of experience on that occasion. And so it was Jake Vasconcelos who was able to hang on. There's Lucas Santos looking to make up some more positions. He's up 9 as well. Good start from him.
It's right on board with Lucas Santos for this restart. Get a driver's eye perspective of what it's like to restart behind Steve Baker. As I said, he's been untouchable all day until he was finally touched by Jordan Kurnow and a wall a couple of minutes ago. Is that car undamaged? Is he able to hold on to the lead? The green flag flies, and Santos and Vasconcelos both had a better restart than last time. Baker's still able to pull about 5 car lengths, and here comes Santos to the bottom of Vasconcelos already.
He just drove down the hill there, and he's through straight away, not waiting around at all. Now he's got to slide up in front of him here through turn 3 and 4. He's not going to do it. He has done it just about. He's just leaving a bit of space. But, and he is still there. Yeah, I thought he was. He didn't quite have the conviction there to slide up in front of him. Didn't want to be in a crash. James O'Brien is in a crash, though. We could be under caution again here in a moment. Let's see. We stay in green for the moment.
And just some slight technical issues for James O'Brien. He's back in action, but Santos not able to make the move on Vasconcelos. Brett Punkari with the momentum, though, is able to make the move on Santos. He'll slide up, and Brett Punkari's up into 3rd.
And there's the difference. There's the difference in conviction. Punkari sliding up immediately there at the first opportunity. Santos didn't do that, and he's paid for it now.
Vasconcelos doing the same job he did previously of closing the gap down to Baker. Can he actually stick with him this time? Last time out, the end of that last long run, the gap between him and Baker was about 2 seconds. He cannot afford to let the gap expand that much again. He needs to stay in touch with Baker. Is he able to do that, though?
Yeah, I guess the question is whether he backed off intentionally to give some clean air to his tyres, or whether he actually doesn't have the speed. Now, early signs are pretty good here for Vasconcelos, but as I mentioned earlier, Baker doesn't really take off very well in these runs. The longer it goes on, the better he seems to get. It's almost like he's relearning the circuit every time we get on the restart here, and he just gets quicker and quicker as we go around again and again and again. But he's under more pressure again here on this restart. We look at Brett Punkari. News from the pit lane, by the way. James O'Brien has dropped for good this time round. He's down on pit lane now.
Unfortunate, those internet connection flags that are coming in the next iRacing update haven't quite come for James O'Brien yet, but I think he's realized that it's probably a little bit of a nuisance at a track like this. 7/8 of a mile, 200 miles per hour. If your internet connection's not totally there, it's somewhat dangerous to be on track. But Brett Punkari wearing the Scotties there, the Nova Scotia curling team, hoping that they're cheering him on. It's effective so far. Let's close that gap down. It's going to be a 3-car battle for the lead now. Punkari's joining the front 2.
Through 1 and 2. It's a 3-car battle for the lead, which I've got to be honest, I did not see coming. In towards 3 and 4 again. Vasconcelos looking a lane lower. Punkari not looking around anywhere, seemingly with no interest really in looking for the move at the moment. He's just running some slightly different lines. You see him looking around a little bit at where he can position his car, try and get himself alongside. I think this is even more difficult though when you're 3rd in a group of 3. It's very difficult to overtake someone who's got slipstream and potential help from the leader here when you're Brett Pancari in third.
It's a great run, though. Great move from Pancari. Not quite clear of Vasconcelos yet, but he's going to throw it down in turn 3. Can he clear Vasconcelos? He can, just barely. Vasconcelos has to lift out of it to not get into the back of Pancari. But just like in the last run, a faster car has gotten by Jake Vasconcelos in the short run. Can Brett Pancari chase Steve Baker down low like Jordan Kurnow did?
It feels like Vasconcelos sort of let that happen to himself, really. Pancari was more than willing to go on past, but I don't think Vasconcelos is too mad about this at all. He was sort of letting that happen, or indeed he just ran wide like he did there again. He's now nearly a second off of Baker, and now you can see sort of long run speed coming into things for Baker. For whatever reason, he's almost sort of winding himself up, and he just goes quicker and quicker and quicker as the run goes on. It's like he gets into a rhythm all over again, and you can see the others making mistakes as he pulls away. It's a great restart from him now after weathering that initial storm, and Brett Pancari is not really reeling him in.
I do worry about Steve Baker, though, because the reason that last caution came out is because he hit the wall, and also there were a couple laps before that where he got very close to the wall as well. So Baker's still pushing 100%. He's still playing with fire, getting very, very close to the walls. He may look like he's in total control, but the walls come fast at Iowa. You never know what can happen. As we look a little bit deeper in the order, Guillaume Potvin has gotten his last spot in the top 10 back. He has a hungry pack behind him with a lot of repaired cars that have some newfound speed in them.
Yeah, this is almost, or is over half a lap off of the lead already, by the way, for this battle for 10th position. Jordan Kurnow in the YouTube chat, by the way, sort of backing up what you were saying about Steve Baker there. I feel like he's exaggerating slightly, but he accused Baker of hitting the wall 6 times in the first 50 laps.
There were some smoke clouds. We saw it happen a couple times.
Well, I'm not sure I saw it happen 6 times. I think that's a bit of an exaggeration personally, but we certainly saw the last one. There was no doubting about that one, and in the end it is Kurnow who bears the consequences of it, unfortunately, but you know, it feels like an honest mistake rather than reckless driving. Remember
Joshua Chinsky started 4th, had a little bit of an oopsie on the initial start, took out Daniel Kranifus and his teammate and himself. Well, he got repaired, Dave Menino got repaired, and those 2 SRT drivers that crashed on lap 1, on lap 0, they're in 6th and 9th now. That's the power of getting your repairs done early and staying out there.
Exactly, staying in the... As long as your repairs aren't that bad, to be fair, they will have gotten away with them a little bit in terms of the fact that it wouldn't have been tens of minutes for them to repair those cars, and they got an initial caution as well to go on and repair their machines, but it is a good recovery from them nevertheless. Hopefully Chinsky can stay out of the back of ramping over somebody else here on the front straight as he closes in on Nathan Ray for this top 5 in the SRT E green car. He is recovering well indeed in this race, but just hanging back for the moment in this 6th position. Further behind, Brandon Walter gets past Nicholas Collender, who gets alongside him.
Nathan Ray is running higher than anybody. That is essentially the 4th lane I was mentioning. Nobody else is willing to go that high, but he's doing what he can, and it's working for him. He's closed up to the back of Lucas Santos. This is not a battle for 5th anymore. This is a battle for 4th as Nathan Ray looks at the number 4.
He's having a look at Lucas Santos now in a way that he wouldn't have been before, because Santos took off really well, got initially into 3rd place past Brett Pancari, but this has started to unravel slightly again on the longer run. He seems to be falling backwards just as Baker was going forwards. I say was, because Brett Pancari is only a 1/4 of a second away from him as well. It is all changed. These longer runs are so fascinating, the way the gaps to and fro.
The spirit of Jordan Kurnow. Can Brett Pancari get this done for the underdogs? Not that Steve Baker's not an underdog in the first place. This would be his first win all season, but he's dominated this race. He has not been taken off the top spot in the last 35 minutes. Brett Pancari really wants to be the person to break that streak. This lap, though, not quite as strong as he would have liked. He had closed that gap down to about a 1/10 and a half. This last lap, he essentially lost that entire 1/10 and a half to double the gap.
Yeah, it's difficult to stay that close and difficult to sustain the pressure that we saw from Jordan Kernow in the first part of the race. Almost spoiled in the first half an hour of this race, really, with the battle for the lead, because the way that Kernow was able to stay close to Baker is not going to be repeated by Brett Pancari by the looks of things, and might not be repeated by anyone for the remainder of this race. So we'll have to look back at that one and enjoy it rather than look forward to another similar kind of battle. It's going to be traffic again that plays a role here. Mark Kalin has just did he spin there, or no, he's just coming in. I think he was going very slowly on the inside anyway. He gets out of the way. Willie Brennan will be next, and the traffic comes thicker and faster from there.
I mentioned a little bit earlier, Steve Baker does have 8 wins in the PRL, but those were all AM class victories. 5 AM class victories in a GT3 car, 3 AM class victories in a Super Formula car. This would be his first overall win in PRL history, so he's still got a big accomplishment to be looking for. Brett Pancari, it would be his first win whatsoever in the PRL, so both of these guys are incredibly hungry at the head of this field.
Yeah, great stories for the both of them. Either of them, they can't both win, and they're deciding who it's going to be right now. Track position has proved to be really important so far, and Steve Baker, by getting the pole position, has shown that. But as you can see on the left-hand side, it is possible to overtake. Ken Miller's up 12. We haven't mentioned him today, but he's the biggest moving forward, up into 7th. Brett Pancari's not been going badly either. He's moving forward. It's just this last position that's proving to be the most difficult at the moment.
Look how high he's willing to run. Ran about half a lane higher than Baker into turn 3. Didn't do him much good, but he didn't lose anything, is what's critical. He is keeping Baker company, throws it to the bottom through 1 and 2, closes that gap down by about a car length, and now into 3 and 4. Again, he's running a lane higher on entry, trying to build up a run. Didn't work out that time, but he does have 1 lap car coming up here. I think that's Willie Brennan again that the leaders are going to have to navigate.
It is. All of the drivers, by the way, who went a lap down, I think there were 3 of them, all got the wave around during that caution, so they will be on the lead lap again, but probably under pressure to go straight back down 1 lap again. It's almost like watching a replay of the first run for them, the first long run. There he goes, right up high, too high, in fact, scraping along the wall for Willie Brennan, and very nearly gets himself right in front of Mark Kalin there, who's found himself 4 laps down after a pit stop. Brennan Walter, by the way, is not going to have to be negotiated. He's in pit lane.
And Mark Kalin's about to be very annoying because he's on fresher tires than the leaders. He's going to be faster than them. We'll see how he navigates that. This is how Nathan Ray navigated Joshua Chinsky around the outside of him. He holds on to P5, but those guys have essentially been shadowing the battle for the lead, just as Baker and Pancari have been throwing everything at each other. Ray and Chinsky, they're doing the same thing, and Santos hits the wall ahead of them.
A similar, very similar battle, although there are 3 of them here, with Santos being dragged into it. The more Chinsky puts pressure on Ray, the more it becomes a 2-car battle, but that does not mean that Santos has really got the speed to get away from these guys. Very low there. He's going to have a big chance here. Nathan Ray knows it immediately. Gets the run off of 4. Now he looks to the inside for the first time. Oh!
A little bit of air between those 2 cars, but became a netcode hip check for Lucas Santos. He ends up in the wall in turn 2. Ken Miller's going to get by him as well. That's so unfortunate. Santos was having such a good run, and he's going to have big damage on the right side of that car now.
Unfortunately, he's not had the best of luck this season, and it does look like he's going to be suffering with a lot of damage there. He wouldn't have had that reaction if it was minor damage, that's for sure. Chinsky versus Ray, meanwhile, into 3 and 4, and that's Joshua Chinsky up to 4th place as well. He's recovering after that lap 1 incident, showing that he did have the speed to be running up into the top 4, and now he's returned his position to there as well now.
And Lucas Santos brings it down pit lane. He's going to try and minimize his losses, try and put some fresh new tires on that. Joshua Chinsky, though, in the dirty air of Willie Brennan, taps the wall a little bit. Think he got away with it. Don't think there's going to be any damage there, but that's how dicey it can get with much slower cars. Did Lucas Santos manage to get it slowed down? Just barely. My goodness. Almost took out the barrels, Kyle Larson style.
I was going to say, yeah, it really creeps up on you there, doesn't it, when you're on the inside line? And suddenly you can find yourself straight into them if you're not careful. But these green flag pit stops are really starting to come into full force further down. I'm not sure I can see the leaders coming in at any time soon, really, because there just doesn't seem to be that much point. To be honest, we really started with 31 minutes to go. I wouldn't be shocked if they just run to the end if we stay green.
I'm not sure. I feel like it's been a guaranteed two-stop on ovals this season, but I'm not sure. We'll see. This is the magic of the PRL IndyCar. Pit strategy is essentially a mystery until we get to about 20 minutes left in the race. Mark Kalin had a little bit of an oopsie on pit exit. Did he throttle it up too early and spin? Yes, indeed he did. Managed to not hit the wall, so well done, Mark. But yeah, too trigger happy on the throttle and backing it into the concrete after that. Not ideal.
No, he's still 4 laps down though. And that's why I don't think they're going to be green flag pit stops, by the way. You lose so many laps, so if you can avoid it, then I think you will do, if at all possible. We'll see over the course of the next few laps, really. But yeah, I think you're right to say we have seen more stops than just the one on most occasions. But actually, through the ovals so far that we've seen this season at Kansas and Gateway, the cautions have allowed for that. We haven't really seen a race yet this season where the cautions have only really made it make sense to make one pit stop, but that's what we've got. That's the situation we've got at the moment with 18 minutes to go.
Pancari had brought that gap down to Baker. He was side by side with him at a moment, but it's just ballooned over the last couple of laps. 0.6 of a second now, and Baker is running away. Getting further and further and further into the lead with every lap. Pancari just does not have the tires under him anymore. Is he going to have to start thinking strategically now? If that car's cooked, if that rubber's cooked, is he going to be able to close this gap down? He's not going to be able to rely on traffic because they're about 10 seconds up the road. Pancari, I think, has to be thinking strategically now.
Well, even if you are, I think it is still a bit early. I'll be staying out there for another 10 laps just yet. Ideally, I don't think you want to be pitting under green for the time loss I've mentioned earlier, but you may be right. They might have to, and they might not have a choice. So in that case, I'll be waiting to about halfway in this run. Imagine the last 31 minutes are going to be run green right the way through. At least try and split it in half. There could be a situation in which this does go green the whole way, and that gives you a bit of an undercut if you pit on what would be halfway at about 15 minutes to go. But to do that, he needs to do about another 8 laps.
Next lap car, not even visible on the screen. Steve Baker is sitting pretty right now. There's the next one, Guillaume Potvin, about 10 seconds up the road. Baker's got to be feeling good right now. It's been a tough season for him. He's had speed. He's had some great drives, but it's kind of been a season of missed opportunities. Started deeper in the field than he would have liked in most races. Had some crashes, but today puts it on pole, leads every single lap up until now, and he's got clean air. He's probably feeling pretty good right now.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. It's clean air for pretty much everybody in the field at the moment. Not too many battles even going on around the circuit at all. In fact, there's no gaps below half a second at the moment, or it's just creeped below half a second, and it is the one you're watching on the screen at the moment. Dave Menino's got Richard Swindell's just in behind him. That's another closest one for 8th place. Menino's catching Adam McDonald as well, but it is worth catching up with Dave Menino, to be honest. Not least because he's gained another place. There goes Adam McDonald into the pit lane, but Menino losing points on the oval again. That's been the story of this season and might be the reason when we look back at it as to why Vasconcelos was the champion. I mean, a bit early for that, but he's losing points again at the moment.
I wonder if is Adam McDonald thinking strategically here? Is this the old Scottish strategy to come in early, try and undercut the field? I tried. I thought after a week off the impression would suddenly get better, but it was the week off actually made it worse.
Not been training.
No. I thought, maybe getting a little bit more mucus in the throat. Had a cold last week. That might be making me a little more Scottish, but I guess not.
I don't know where to begin.
I'll get back to you next week.
Got up to 3rd. Roared past Jake Vasconcelos there, and he. Well, we'll see if he tries to chase down these two. Well, he's certainly going to try, but we'll see if he actually does chase down these two leaders at the moment. I mean, Steve Baker is, doing pretty well. Pancari staying with him quite nicely, but Chinsky looks to be quicker than both of them, maybe at the moment.
Pancari's actually bringing it down here. I thought it might have been a lost cause. I thought Baker might drive off into the sunset. He had about a 7/10 gap, but Brett has managed to have that. He had a great run through 1 and 2, took about 2/10 off the lead, and now he's fixing to do exactly the same thing. Takes another 10th off Steve Baker's lead. Pancari's flying right now.
I think this is somewhat temporary, to be honest with you. His gap has fluctuated to Baker quite regularly in this race, and I think it relates a little bit to how Baker's going in the race. You know, slow off the start of these restarts, then gets into a good rhythm. And a few moments ago, he went away from him. Pancari gave him a challenge. Now it's going away from him again, and Pancari's closing in. Paczynski is doing the same, and Vasconcelos is not exactly losing time to Baker at the moment either. So I think it's really fluctuating at the moment. Not really got a consistent speed. It's having to survive sort of intermittent attacks really from Brett Pancari in these final 15 minutes.
I do like what I'm seeing out of Chinsky though. Last lap, yet again, 2/10 faster than these two up front. Chinsky only needs about 8 laps, and I think he'll have caught the 2 leaders. He might have a real shot here.
Maybe. Coming through the field, he certainly knows how to get it done. That's going to be the key difference, really. I know Brett Pancari has made up quite a few places in this race, but he's not been able to do it for quite some time. Chinsky has been making slow progress, but solid progress throughout the field. And now he's showing that he's got the pace and clean air as well to catch the leader.
Riding on board again with Brett, giving the Scotties one more shout out. He's consistently running lower than Baker in 1 and 2 and consistently shadowing him through 3 and 4. Seems to be working for him in terms of keeping touch with Baker. Doesn't seem to be working for him in terms of closing that gap down. I think that was Richard Swindell. There was somebody down in the bottom of the track with heavy damage. I don't think it was Swindell's. He's still going, but somebody was just pulled off. And the caution flies. The caution flies for whoever that was. Was it Brandon Walter, potentially? Somebody was missing the right front quarter of their car right there on the apron into turn 1. And I believe that's the reason the caution's just flown.
Well, Walter came to pit lane pretty much as that caution came out, so I wonder whether he towed, but not before the caution came out. Now, this is exactly why, the point you made earlier, the one-stop strategy hasn't been favoured on the ovals this season, but it's made strategic sense to do so on every occasion anyway. So, another one added to that list. Brett Pancari making it very clear where he's going to go into this caution, and Baker probably going to follow him. It was Brandon Walter, as I suspected, who got into the wall, trying to go around the outside. Looks like Chinsky. Nearly manages it, but gets clipped and goes straight into the wall.
Yeah, and that was the second time he's had a crash like that. Just probably a little bit too loose, not quite comfortable with his tools, and the car snaps out from under him off of turn 4 for the second time today. And he's not able to park. Didn't have front tires, so he wasn't able to get on the brakes. This is going to be a critical race off pit lane, though. Baker versus Pancari. Baker slides it a little bit getting stopped. Doesn't overshoot the box, though. He's okay. Pancari's out. 8.4 seconds in the box. Pancari's going to come out in second. Vasconcelos beats Chinsky out as well. But Steve Baker still holds on. He will not be denied the lead, at least for now. He's going to have to survive this final restart, though, in a short run to the finish.
Yeah, and if Pancari gets ahead of him initially, then he's going to have to overtake someone for the first time. So he cannot afford to lose this lead straight away. Otherwise, he will be in big trouble with less than 10 minutes to go, as it will be when we get back green again. Chinsky seems so concerned, by the way, by flooring it and spinning out of the pit lane, that he was actually so tentative he let Jake Vasconcelos regain that 3rd place he worked quite hard for. So that's an extra car for him to go past.
Ooh, and this could be big. Oh, never mind. False alarm. That was the pace car. That was not Steve Baker's rear end. I thought he had a couple of lap cars between him, but no. That is just Mark Kalin, Karsten Quint, Adam McDonald, and I believe one more, Willie Brennan. Those will all get waved around. Those will not be considered by our leaders, at least for a couple of minutes, until they reach them in traffic. It'll be all clean. Baker, Pancari, Vasconcelos, Chinsky going all out until the finish. This is going to be exciting. I like the way this is developed, and I hope we get the whole run to the finish. I hope there's no more caution.
Yeah, same. I hope we get a nice run to the finish as well, in of at least a decent distance. Actually, 8 or 9 minutes actually does feel like quite a long time around here, because you can knock off a good 30 laps in that time. So I hope that it is that amount of time roughly for this run to the flag. It would be an exciting one. Nobody's been able to get themselves back onto the lead lap again because of these wave rounds. They're just getting themselves one less lap down, if you like, hoping for a lot more cautions and a lot more things to go wrong for them to get a better result. It is going to allow a clean field, though. So as you were talking about, Baker is not interrupted by anybody. That is Brandon Walters' view. I think that's a stop. It's still image.
I think so. I think that was from a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah, it's not a live image. Thankfully, he's not stuck in a fence somewhere facing the crowd. He's back in pit lane. I think he's out the race, as far as I can see.
Yeah, I don't think. Well, no, not out entirely. We might see him again. He's still attempting to get that repaired, but he was missing essentially the entire front end of that car. So I wish him good luck. I hope we see him back out here, but it's going to be a tall order. It's going to be a tall order for anybody to pass Steve Baker. He's led every single lap today, but he's shown signs of being beatable. Can anybody do it? The green flag flies for potentially the final time, and Pancari holds him in closer company than anybody's been able to do on any previous restart. Look at Chinsky as well, trying to rip around the outside of his teammate Vasconcelos for third. He's not able to do that just yet. He's going to be stuck in fourth. Can he rip around him through 3 and 4? We know how fast Chinsky was at the end of that last run. He really wants to get by his teammate here and try and hunt down these leaders.
Yeah, slow restarts have been the story of the race for some, and Jake Vasconcelos was absolutely sleeping there. Still on the outside of Chinsky. Oh, goodness me! He pulls to the inside through 3 and 4. That is aggression between the teammates we certainly weren't expecting.
But Chinsky on the outside is going to end up winning out. Now can he hunt down the leaders? Does he have the short run speed? We know he had the long run speed. He was flying at the end of that last run, and Nathan Ray is able to squeeze to the outside of Vasconcelos. He's going to steal a spot off of Jake too. Nathan Ray is up to P4.
It was almost as if Nathan Ray was saying, you've got a championship to think about, so I'm going to stick my car in there. Have a look at this, though, from Vasconcelos. Just putting himself in between 2 cars. That's amazing for a championship leader to be taking that kind of risk with a teammate.
And it's been underdogs up front all day, so we haven't talked much about the championship, but even in P5, Jake Vasconcelos is ahead of Dave Menino. He's only going to extend that championship gap. It's not going to be by many points. It's only going to be by about 2 or so, but better than 0. It's better than losing points to Menino.
Would be a 2-point gain, 46 for 5th, 44 for 7th. So there you go, you do the maths, 2 points. That'll be a 12-point advantage going into the next round of the championship at Sebring next week. But Vasconcelos can gain 2 points if he gains a position inside the top 5. That's how the points situation works in the PRL. If you're inside the top 5 and you gain a place, it's 2 points rather than the 1 where it is outside the top 5.
And as he's stuck on the bottom trying to get by Nathan Ray, Dave Menino's actually made a move on Ken Miller rather. So only 1 point separate the 2 championship rivals now, and Menino looks to be potentially chasing down Vasconcelos. If he ends up closing this championship gap after being what we thought was crashed out on lap 1, that would be an incredible comeback for Menino, and maybe what decides the championship at the end of this all. Both Chinsky and Ray, though, in trouble off of turn 4, swerving down to the bottom. Similar trouble for both of them, getting very, very close to the walls in the final couple of minutes of this race.
Well, that's exactly what it's expected. Ray goes a bit high there. Now he's going to get a good run off the corner, and he does. He will get back into 4th place again. He'll hold on, and it will allow Menino to catch up all over again here. Are the 2 championship rivals going to get into side-by-side competition again? Certainly hope so. And it looks like Menino is having a bit of a resurgence late on.
The bottom is not working for Vasconcelos every lap. Off a 4, off a 2. He's only losing time. And you can see the green SRT car of Dave Menino get closer and closer with every lap. Here we go again. Into 3 and 4. Vasconcelos running a little bit higher than he's used to this time. Has to lift out of it a little bit not to get into the wall. And Menino yet again gets that little bit closer. Menino was faster by 1/2 tenth that last time. That's not a ton. He's not a ton faster, but he is inching closer.
Yeah, when you're lapping at 18 seconds or so every lap, then you realise you are doing quite a lot of laps. So even 1/2 tenth is absolutely worth having, especially when it's on your championship rival. I wonder whether Vasconcelos has seen that and thought, we can go quicker if we run single file here. Let's just make sure Menino doesn't get to us.
Did still send it to the bottom through 3 and 4 there, but I don't think he's got the sauce anymore. Doesn't have the speed to actually run side by side with Nathan Ray, which may end up being a little bit of a blessing. This may be good for him. See if he can hold off Dave Menino for the next 4.5 minutes. It's only 4.5 minutes for Brett Pancari to try and catch Steve Baker, and this has not been as good of a short run for Pancari. He has lost almost a full second, or a half second, to Steve Baker. He was able to close down a gap like this before at the end of the last run, but it's not what Pancari wanted to see. He wanted to be close with Baker. He wanted to battle him to the end of this race, and now it's more of a chase.
It's not over. I mean, we've seen some really fluctuating gaps between those two over the course of the day, going from this kind of distance right into a battle in a matter of laps. So I'm not writing him off just yet, but time is certainly running out. There's about 20 laps to go, probably a bit less now, as they cross less than 4 minutes remaining in this race. Lap time's so short you can get quite a lot in still, but about 20 to go by the looks of things, just less than that. More chances for Jake Vasconcelos to try and work his way through, and he's just getting a little bit more aggressive, getting a bit closer in these last couple of laps again.
Ooh, that was very close. Nearly overlap between the front of the 10 and the rear of the 35. These guys are playing with fire. And yet again, a squeeze off of turn 4. Vasconcelos leaves Ray room. But it gets so dicey off of turn 4. We've seen it come to blows earlier today with Jordan Kernow and Steve Baker. Vasconcelos is hungry. He's got the power of the puppy on him, but he has no room whatsoever to play with.
He just doesn't want to take that high risk that is required to make a pass round here. We saw it earlier in the battle with Chinsky, where he was actually willing to take the high risk, but he just doesn't seem to be willing anymore. Speaking of Chinsky, yeah, he's passed.
Battle for second is not even a battle for second. He's blown by Brett Pancari, rather. And now, can Joshua Chinsky set his sights on Steve Baker and pull off the most unbelievable comeback possible?
It would be unbelievable as well. The worst start to a race I've ever seen, followed by possibly the best finish. It's going to be a real turnaround for Chinsky if he can get there. He's only had 10 laps at the line there, but Baker's in traffic just up in front here. He did go to the high side, which he'll probably prefer, but he did remain side by side, losing a bit of time.
That was a teammate, Karsten Quint, so maybe more interested in helping Baker than helping Chinsky. Nah, no nefarious stuff there. Chinsky gets by fairly straightforwardly, and not just straightforwardly, extremely quickly. That gap was 8/10 last time around. That last lap, Chinsky was 2/10 faster than Baker. He's closing this down. We got a battle on our hands.
This is absolutely on. It could be 5 or 6 laps to go here. Not long at all for Chinsky, but the advantage he's got is that he's made lots of overtakes previously in this race. He knows how it's done, and he's putting the pressure on Baker as well now. You see him running up very high. He's stuck to that line. It's served him so well. He's led every single one of these laps so far, and right now he's under pressure right to the very end.
Nobody has led a lap other than Steve Baker today. But with only a couple more to go, is it finally going to come undone? Chinsky putting the biggest challenge that anybody has given Steve Baker all day long to the bottom in 3 and 4. He's not able to clear him, though. Baker's still going to lead at the line, but Chinsky is fully alongside into turn 1.
Yeah, Baker's trusting this outside line, and he needs to. He needs to stick to his guns here. He can't do anything different from here. And there you go. That's why he can get clearing towards 3 and 4. Now Chinsky's going to start all over again. It's easier to get alongside off of 4 and stay there than it is off of 2. 30 seconds to go. It's going to be 3 laps, including the one we've just started.
Chinsky lost out a little bit there, but he's going to look high. He's going to look absolutely to the wall in turns 3 and 4 to try and bring this down. 2 laps to go. 16/16 of a mile. Nothing left in it. Chinsky to the bottom yet again, cuts the gap in half. He's got to throw a haymaker here with 1 lap to go. The white flag is in the air between Baker and Chinsky. Chinsky gets a nose alongside, doesn't have the run down the front stretch though. 7/8 of a mile to go. The white flag flies. The checkered flag is going to fly in about 9 seconds with 1 corner to go. Can Chinsky take Steve Baker down? He throws it into turn 4. It's not going to happen. Steve Baker leads every single lap and wins his first ever overall race in the PRL.
It's only his 2nd podium of the season as well. It's a fantastic result for Steve Baker. A result of pure domination, really. Sticking to his guns on that high line throughout that final run was absolutely the right call, and it's earned him a race victory as well. The key moment for me was just on that 3rd last lap there as they were coming to 2 to go. Joshua Chinsky just clipped the apron on the inside of turn 4. Had he just avoided that, he might have been further alongside, and it could have been a right side-by-side battle to the line, but Chinsky just got knocked back with that momentum slightly with that clip of the apron. He couldn't really recover from it, and Steve Baker, great value for a great win here tonight in Iowa.
And Joshua Chinsky, he's going to be heartbroken that it didn't end up in a win, but what a comeback for him. The embarrassment of lap 1, getting it repaired, letting his driving do the talking, and coming back to put an incredible fight to the dominant race leader. Couple more laps and who knows what could have happened, but still a great day for Chinsky. And a great day for Brett Pancari for that matter. I know he wishes it could have been a win. He had the speed, again, just like he did at Kansas earlier this season, but still, a podium, that's big stuff for Brett Pancari, and I'm sure he'll be a very happy driver when we get to talk to him in a couple of moments. But everybody has now crossed the line, and Steve Baker wins an overall race for the first time in the PRL, his 9th win in total. Chinsky and Pancari round off the podium, and Nathan Ray, solid day for him to finish in 4th. Championship leader Jake Vasconcelos extends his championship lead, but only by 1 single point over Dave Menino, who finished immediately behind him. Ken Miller had the quietest day of anybody, but that was a good thing as he gets P7 for his efforts. And Richard Swindells, at the end of it all, the last driver on the lead lap, P8, solid result for him. Nicholas Collender ended up being wrecked on lap 1. He managed to come back to finish P9, and the last car in the top 10 was Adam McDonald. Willie Brennan didn't qualify, but he drove his way up to 11th. Mark Kalin and Karsten Quint, the 2 Solpec Precision Racing Blue drivers, 12th and 13th. Guillaume Potvin, a tough day, had him 7 laps down in 14th. And then the used car lot of heavily damaged drivers already begins. Brandon Walter, Lucas Santos showed a lot of speed. James O'Brien, Jordan Kernow, heartbreaking in a battle for the lead with Steve Baker, crashed out early. Kyle Strykars and Patrick Cowgill down to the end of the top 20. And poor old Daniel Kranifus started on the outside of the front row, may have been the driver who was able to take the fight to Steve Baker today, but didn't even make it to turn 1. Bad luck for him. We do have the driver who led every single lap today, though, with us, Steve Baker. Total dominance. You had about 4 different drivers challenging you, and you still managed to lead every single lap today. How are you so dominant here at Iowa tonight?
Didn't make any mistakes on the top line, or any big enough mistakes, I guess. The top tonight was pretty dominant, so just kind of held it up there, and yeah. Went green a lot, so that definitely helped.
Yeah, you were very good on those restarts, able to pull those gaps. And this is your first ever overall win in the PRL. You got 8 AM wins, but now you've won an overall race. How good does that feel to add to your record book?
Yeah, man, with the news about PRL this week, glad to sneak one in. Been trying for a long time, and there's a lot of good talent in this league for every series, so glad to finally pull one off. So yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, and you'll have 2 more shots at it. Sebring and Pocono to finish the season. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Steve Baker, your winner at Iowa. Great race from him. Coming home in 2nd, narrowly in 2nd, was Joshua Chinsky, and he's with Ewan.
Joshua, welcome in, and congratulations or commiserations, whichever you prefer, on 2nd place here tonight at Iowa. Just tell us about that run to the flag there in those final few minutes, and where you think, if you could do those final few laps again, where you think you could have got through maybe.
Yeah, well, first off, to start it, apologies to Daniel. I had an awesome jump from the start, and I've been racing this track all week, and I had nowhere to go. It was completely my fault. The run at the end, I mean, looking back at it, that was really where I was gonna end up. I mean, there wasn't a chance. I was praying that I had the momentum to be able to do something on the inside. I was pushing like crazy after that restart. We got caught sleeping a little bit there, so what should have been like a 0.6 second gap turned into 2 seconds. So I kind of burned up my tires at the end, but it was an awesome fight. Yeah, very much commiserations, because that was definitely that was a race to win that I kind of threw away at the race start.
It touches a little bit about it there, and maybe the run through the field afterwards as well, because I've got to say, after the start of the race, you disappeared from our cameras a bit until you turned up in the top 5 all over again. You were racing for the win suddenly. Just tell us about the incident and then your way back.
Yeah, so the green flag dropped, and I guess I just had the better reaction time of I was actually just looking at it. I was at 60 miles per hour while everybody was still at 53, 54, getting up to speed. I just had nowhere to go. I tried to move right to just get out of the way, and just ended up having wheel-to-wheel contact with Daniel. Got sent all the way to the back of the field, went in pit, and then I just worked my way up from there. I did have a little bit of wheel damage that I couldn't get repaired. I couldn't really feel it, but I think it was definitely increasing the tire temps at the end, which is kind of why I think I was struggling there to try and catch Steve after I wasn't having any issues there for my drive up the field. But it was just trying to keep it nice, clean. It was, you find your clean air is the way around here. It's so hard to pass, so you just got to hope that somebody was behind on their in-car tools and you stayed ahead of it.
Well, congratulations on your run back through the field, Joshua, in second place, and thanks for coming to chat to us as well.
Awesome, thanks guys.
Thanks very much, Joshua Chinsky, second place here tonight at Iowa.
One more driver rounding off the podium, Brett Punkari. Great run from you tonight. Had the speed to challenge Steve Baker at times. What more did you need to take him down on that final run?
Maybe not overfill the car. I didn't forget about the time limits because I was more focused on the laps, so that was the first problem there. So, but then my short run speed was again horrendous as usual, and they probably had their weight jackers cranked up and the roll bars adjusted and whatnot. And Chinsky blew my doors off, and more probably because I had overfilled because I was more focused on the lap count. I totally forgot about the time limit, but second ever podium in PRL, and finally got something good happening on the oval. So that's definitely a plus, because I almost got Steve there on the long run, but then I started to fade. So, but yeah, to get my second ever podium in Precision Racing League, definitely a season saver, that's for sure.
And you've been very strong on the ovals. You were strong at Kansas. We're fighting for the win there, fighting for the win here. Pocono, last race of the season. You feeling good about that maybe being your shot to victory?
Hopefully, but I don't want to think too far ahead of that to think about winning, because who knows what the pace could be everyone else. But because it's a big oval, it might give me a better chance to move around a bit more, because it was so hard to pass, especially on the bottom in 3 and 4. But we'll have to see it. It's wider, so hopefully that'll help my cause.
Well, congrats on the podium this week, and we'll see you at Sebring next week.
Thanks, and I got the sponsor up this time with the team, but Race Data AI, Abruzzi, Futu Innovations, Heskett Photography, PC Fisso Portali, Portable, I totally butchered that, I know it. But also Princess Daisy, obviously, Splash and Go Grass for Paint, Petro Canada Lubricants, and of course Peugeot engines. Podium for a Peugeot engine, because why not?
And what about the Scotties?
Well, that was the curling tournament that was on the laptop last week. The final just ended tonight. But I didn't think I had time to have it put up on the other laptop. So Rachel Holman, Team Canada, defended their title. They went undefeated, defeated Manitoba, Carrie Arneson 6-1 in the final. And Nova Scotia got bronze. That's the first podium for Nova Scotia since 2019. And the the Montana's Briar starts this Friday. That's the men's curling championship. I might have that up next week, but we'll see.
There you go. Just making sure they got a mention. Congrats to the podium, and we'll see you next week.
All right, thanks.
Brett Punkari rounding out the podium. A happy bunch of drivers at the end of it all. And next week, the final road course of the season, the Bumps of Sebring. Respect them or die. We'll see what happens. Championship battle still only separated by 11 points between Jake Vasconcelos and Dave Menino. It's going to be an exciting time. Sebring and Pocono to finish the season. And still, 5 days of PRL action a week. We'll be back with more tomorrow night, on Monday night, and on Tuesday, and on Wednesday, and on Thursday, and of course, on Sunday. So we hope you'll join us for any and all of those nights. I've been Joey Tebben. Ewan O'Leary's been Ewan O'Leary. Our producer has been Ramiro Augustin Cisneros. Until we see you next time, so long.